Tēnā koutou katoa, ngā mana ngā reo, ngā kuaka e rere mai, ngā rangatira mā, tēnā koutou katoa. Te rangatira e tuwhiretia ngā hoi mō mātou, tēnā koe mō ngā mana whenua o Tauranga moana, e tuwhiretia ngā tatau mō mātou, tēnā koutou katoa. Ko waia hau, hu e mai, e tētahi taha, ko taumata māhui te maunga, ko tinana te waka, ko tāngonge, te wae, te reke, te ripo, ko te raroa te iwi, ko Ngāti te ao, te hapu, ko te raroa te marae, no puki poto a hau. E tētahi atu taha, ko puki tūtū te maunga, ko ngā toku mata whāoroa, te waka, ko Waeomio, ko taumarere, ngā awa, ko miria, ko mohinui, ngā marae, ko Ngāti hine te iwi, ko Ngāti hine te hapu. No Waeomio a hau, ko Troy Brockbank a hau. My name is Troy, and I hail from the north. It's glad to be down here on peaceful terms, unlike my ancestors. Today I'll be talking about te Ao Māori and water-sensitive urban design, or just water-sensitive design. In actual fact, just te Ao Māori and water, really, or just te Ao Māori. A little bit of a disclaimer. What you see in this presentation and what you hear from me today is my interpretation of te Ao Māori and water. I am Māori, but I don't stand here today representing all Māori in this wonderful country we call Aotearoa. Neither do I come here today to give the local interpretation of why and te Ao Māori, and that's left for the mana whenua here today. So what I'll be doing today is talking about ngā kōrero e tuku iho, the treasures passed down, the spoken word passed down to me to pass on to you. He wai, he wai. He wai he ringa tangata, he wai he ringa whenua, he wai ora, he wai rua, ti hei wā Maori ora. Lucky I gave that disclaimer because I tāhoi this from Wellington Water just to show you that it's not just me. But this is, I kind of feel really connected to this tauparapara, or this taki that Wellington Water has done, where it talks about water and basically what water is from a Māori perspective. So feel free to use this as well and give credit to Wellington Water for this tauparapara. In the engineering term, we tend to think of water very differently. When you hear the words water, we tend to think of the three waters. We tend to think of stormwater, we tend to think of water supply, wastewater. We tend to expand this out a little bit, and we talk about fresh water, seawater, marine water, and also groundwater. Typically, as professionals in this infrastructured water industry, as I call it, we decompartmentalize all these different categories of water, and we focus on them in their isolated states. You don't really hear of a stormwater engineer talking to a wastewater engineer. You don't tend to see wastewater engineers, stormwater engineers, any engineers to do with water talking to the scientists. And I think that's something that's fundamentally wrong with our industry, because when we look at it, especially from a Māori perspective, we don't categorize water this way. We think of why as life. We don't think of water as assets. We think of it as a treasure, a taonga, but really we think of water as life. Ko te wai te ora o ngā mea katoa. Water is the life giver of all things. If we think about it, we're all made up of water. You know, we're made up of water. If we don't drink water, we die. If we don't have water, we die. If we're not around water, we could die as well, whether it be physically, or whether it be mentally or spiritually. Ko ahau te wai, ko te wai ko ahau. I am the water is me. This is the connection we have with water. And we've heard many of the stories, or many of the connections already today about water. And actually, going forward, if there's anyone else who wants to give a connection to water while they're up here, please do so. Please tell us your story. How many here really know about te Ao Māori? Nobody? Ka pai. A few. Tukuiti. When we really look at te Ao Māori, it is really these, what they call narratives, but really it's kōrero tuku iho, stories passed down, knowledge passed down. Te Ao Māori really, fundamentally, for te Ao Māori is around whakapapa, it's around the genealogy, whether it be physically or spiritually. It starts at the beginning with the creator, who we call Io Matua Kore, or Io Takitaki. And it comes through the different stages of creation. You can kind of think of it like a seed growing. From a seed that blossoms and starts to grow and sends out tap roots and grows into this, grows towards the light. We get down to Ranginui and Papa Tōnaku, who in te Ao Māori are known as the creators of Defy, or the world of light as we know it today. Do many of you know the creation story? Hands one. Chair. Very simply, Ranginui, the sky father, Papa Tūnaku, the earth mother, and they were sandwiched together like this. They had many children while they were sandwiched together, as you do when you're laying on top of your loved one. And what happened was all these children decided, man, it's sticky, it's damp, it's wet here, I just can't stand this anymore. So one of their children, Tāne Mahuta, decided to push them apart, thus going from that darkness or te pō into te ao marama, this world of light that we know today. But when these two were separated, like all of us, when we're separated from our loved one, we started to weep. They started to weep for one another. And that weeping was the rain, or those tears was the rain. Ngā roi mato ngā atua, the tears of Rangi and Papa, so the rain from below, above, and also the springs that come out of the land below. But there was many children, not just Tāne. They had many children. Some accounts say there was up to 70 children. And these children are, personifications, and they look after different domains in this world that we live in today. And each one of them has affinity to water. Whether it be Tangarua, the overall deity who looks after our water, our moana, our awas, our roto. Te Maru, who looks after the fresh water. Hine Te Ripo, who looks after the wetlands, also Paroa Whenua Mea, the running water, fresh water on land. They all look after water in one form or another. And from these deities, they gave birth to us and the genealogy. So if you think about it, we kind of came from water as well. It's up to us to make sure we look after those domains as well. Because if we don't start to look after them, this genealogical link will disappear. In te Ao Māori, or in Māoridom, we do have different types of water. Whether it be from, I don't know if you can see that, whether it be from waiora, or the water that's most purest, that comes from the Sky Father, or the water that comes from the springs, or the water that's on all of us, the pure water that has its purest modi, or purest life force. Whether it be to Wai Māori, the water that flows unrestricted over the land, water that is safe for human consumption, water that we can use and it can help provide life and grow life. If we don't start looking after Wai Māori, it can go into waikino, which is the polluted waters, water that, like stormwater that picks up contaminants as it goes along. If we leave, it's the water that is quite dangerous and can harm people. And if we leave it, it turns into wai mate, water that has the ability to take life rather than give life. So this is that stagnant water with no oxygen, with no life. We also have wai tai, seawater or salt water, estuarine water. We also have water for ceremonial purposes, wai tapu. And this is just some of the waters, but at the end of the day, it is water. There's only one water, it is water. We are able to give water respect, authority, and this is recognised in the MPS with Te Mana o Te Wai, where we give water the respect that it requires. Because if we don't give water respect and that authority, just think of it as turning your back to water, acknowledging it's not there, which we've done with many of our towns in Aotearoa in the past. Many of these waterways we've decided now to turn back around. Water that we've buried underneath the ground in culverts. We've started to daylight. We're giving that respect back to water. We're giving water back a voice because it has its own voice. Have you ever gone to the sea and you've heard the sea talk to you? You hear the crashing of the waves. You go to the awa, you hear the water rippling over the rocks of the koatu. You know, if you went to these places and you didn't hear those sounds, would the water be healthy? Would you be giving water respect? I wouldn't think so. But aside from giving mana water, we must also recognise it has its own mauri. And these strategies like what they're doing in Tamaki Makaurau with regards to their water strategy is they've decided to put Te Mauri o Te Wai at the centre of their strategy. So no longer are we looking at individual components of water, they're bringing them all together as water. But in this strategy as well, they're not just looking at water, they're looking at people. Because like I said at the start, we are water as well. So it's bringing that all together and looking at all in the centre rather than putting people or man above the environment, but actually putting us at the same level because we are each other. When we think of water generally, it is quite holistic. When we're doing town planning, we look at our town, but we don't tend to go further out. When we're looking at developments, we don't tend to go further out. We just look at those. Historically, we've looked at those parcels, those isolated parcels. Whereas we forget about the way water behaves. We forget about that droplet of water that's coming from the upper catchment down to the bottom, ki uta, ki tai. But in the Māori holistic view, we have to look at it all as one. In fact, we must also look at it from the sky to the land as well, and back, and vice versa. So this is how we Māori tend to look at water in this holistic sense. Upper catchment, lower catchment, back to the sky and back down again. But then again, we already know this as professions. We just call this the water cycle. Yet sometimes we forget about it. When we're looking at Te Ao Māori and water management, or generally in water sensitive urban design, there's not many articles out there, research been done in the past, that brings the two together or looks at the two. nationally there's many different, there is a few documents, actually not many, but a few documents that have started to appear within the last five years. We have the Tauranga principles, the urban design principles, which have originally started as a set of principles, for urban designers, but we've adopted a few of those principles across into the water industry. Whether it be Te Mana o Te Wai, the national policy statement, or the urban water principles, which we saw on the screen before, and also regionally with different water strategies, but also the iwi and hapu management plans. Now, the iwi and hapu management plans are quite fundamental when we're trying to explore Te Ao Māori and look at it and bring those perspectives across into the water industry or the engineering world. Because we tend to not ignore them, but not many people know they're there, and they have a great source of local knowledge, especially with regards to water bodies in their rohi. So when we were doing some research on this topic, we couldn't find a lot of studies with regards to water-sensitive urban design. So what we did was this cool word called tahoi, and we tahoied this information from different sources, whether it be from wastewater, freshwater, kōrero tuku ihu from ngā mātua. We bring them all together and we put them into this report, which is available on the Building Better Homes as part of the National Science Challenge. And I co-authored this report with Emily Arfoa. And the purpose of this report was to kind of bring these strong links to water. It was to look at how water-sensitive urban design provides for Te Ao Māori. And are we doing it right? And how we could implement them or integrate them into the work that we're doing. So what we found was water-sensitive urban design is widely used in New Zealand, widely used around the world. It reflects Te Ao Māori, and it reflects a lot of the Māori values, the core Māori values. Yet there's some instances where we could be doing a little bit better. But the fundamental principles of water-sensitive urban design are interwoven within the fabric of Te Ao Māori. So what are some of these Māori values? Well, this is an example of the Tauranga principles, which is on the right-hand side. And on the left-hand side are some core Māori values. Now, the core Māori values that resonated the most was, of course, Kaitiaki and looking after the stewardship or custodianship regarding the land, but also manaakitanga, which is really about hospitality and show manaaki. Now with manaakitanga, what we found was when we really looked into it, really looked deep into the environments we're living in, and we take places like Auckland, where we have to rely on water sources outside our region, where we look at towns do the same, where we've gone from looking at water reuse, or not having water reuse, but actually relying on reservoirs and dams outside of town. So what that's telling us is that the local people are not able to manaaki or show hospitality towards the people living there. So the haukainga can't show manaaki to their manuhiri, their visitors. And we've seen that more and more often with maraes as well, where they're having hui and they're running out of water, or even good quality water. So we looked at kaitiaki as well, and really it is the duty of the people to take care of these resources, and it's for us to to look after this environment that we live in and look after the water bodies. And through water-sensitive urban design is one way that we could do that, and a way that we can do that that's more natural and more in line with multicultural values. I talked earlier a little bit about Maori, but if we start implementing kaitiaki tangi and protecting waterways, we can enhance the Maori, or enhance their life forces. By enhancing the life force of the water, we're enhancing the life forces of the land. By enhancing the life force of the land, we're enhancing the life force of us, the people. And we saw that in the biophilic design just before. And to enhance this Maori, we're always aiming to strive to enhance water to have its purest Maori, or be close to wai order as we can. Because if we leave it too late, it will go into this wai kino down to wai mate stage. And then all we can do is give it back to Papatōnaku to enhance that Maori. Because like I said at the start with the weeping of the roimata, or the tears, those tears were meant for each other, from Ranganui down and also Papatōnaku up. So through stormwater management, what we've in urbanisation is we've made the land impervious, we've suffocated the land. Those tears can no longer go down to Papatōnaku, but they're now going on to impervious surfaces, into pipes and straight out to the sea. Mixing the Maori of one area, one water body that's come down, with the Maori of another water body at the same time. So if we don't implement water-sensitive urban design, that roimata that comes down cannot penetrate into the ground or go back to Papatōnaku where they're meant. So that's one way of enhancing the Maori. As soon as they go into the ground where they're meant to be, then they can flow off unrestricted. But there's many different ways we can implement multicultural values into water-sensitive urban design, or just urban design in general. And it is very inclusive of different perspectives, and provides a lot of opportunity to bring in this Tauranga Māori. One example is when we are going to the streams and we don't hear the water bodies, or if we don't hear the ecosystem, if we don't hear the birds, do we really need to do water testing? Because if we can't hear life, it's wrong, we need to fix it. Don't necessarily need to look at the chemicals or anything in the waterways straight away. All right, there's no life here, we need to start doing something. In its fundamental, basic form, to give water back to Papatōnaku, give those roimata back to Papatōnaku, and giving that whakanoa process to enhance the Maori of that waterway, is we can start doing swales, put swales in the ground. And there's been a big push since I think the early 90s of putting swales in across New Zealand, across Aotearoa. Well, then we can upscale this and add plants to help filter the contaminants and uptake all the heavy metals that are coming off these roads and these urbanised impervious surfaces. We can look at implementing wetlands and start providing filtration in many different levels, but also another ecosystem. Perhaps put back wetlands that were wetlands in the old days as well. This is an example from Rotorua for a proposed wastewater treatment plant, or the tertiary system downstream, where they've put in multicultural values every step of the way through the treatment stage, where they're looking at bringing water back up through the land, through the many rock filters and plants that give Maori back to the water, and ensure that there's a transition from water in its tapu state into its noa state, to water that's collected and into a single pool, showing that kotahitanga, or the unity of water coming back together. Going over a waterfalls, providing both the aeration treatment, but also a chance to kind of have a karakia as it's going over this wairere, this waterfall, imposed by the po. And down into the bottom here, which connects with, I think it's Lake Rotorua, where it is assumed that freshwater species will come up there, koura and kewai and tuna. So one of the health objectives of this whole system is seeing species in there, and species that are kai as well, species that could be used for kai food. With water-sensitive urban design, we can implement Māori values in a way that we can reconnect people with the whenua, reconnect people back to water, or introduce them to water in the first instance. There's that stage where we had our backs turned to papatōnuku, our backs to water, where now we're starting to turn around those daylight, those streams, but also reconnect communities and people, connect in our public spaces, connecting people back to water. This is an example up in Whangaparoa, in MoBay, where they've not only have they integrated a playground, or a nature-based playground, but they've also daylighted a culvert that's running through the site. Unfortunately, they haven't got to the stage where they've daylighted the entire stream yet, but with this section, people can now go there and they can reconnect back to water and see what it's supposed to look like. Listen to it, feel it, touch it, smell it, listen to the animals and the ecosystem that is there. But other ways we can do this is when we are looking at biofiltration or bioswales, we can build a stream play component to the side where it may not be safe to go into the biofiltration part because of stormwater contaminants and the likes. But we can still go back and connect to that water. We can bring back history of areas as well. This is another example from Auckland and Tamaki, where there was an ancestral waterway along this path. So one of the treatment initiatives to put in was a series of rain gardens that were linearly connected. So when it rained, the water would fill up in all of them, which would show people the education with regards to where water is and that connection back to water, provide the treatment and the management of water, but also tell the story of that waterway that once flew in that area. So every time it rained, you could see it. You could see the waterway where it used to be. We can also implement te Ao Māori and Māori cultures in much different ways than the fundamental core values. But we can go quite wider again and implement mahi toi or Māori art, which will also tell the narratives. We can get mana whenua involved in these projects. Like this one in Napier, where every single post on this walkway has a cast iron marae put on it that represents, I think, one of the 79 maraes in that rohi. And they all had a part in this project. Because fundamentally, when you look at it, it really is Kaitiaki mō popo. So we're not doing this for us. We're doing this for the future generations. We're doing it for our children and their children. So we need to start looking at water, well, not start, but continue this journey that we all are on into taking care of the environment and the waterways, and through water-sensitive urban design is one way to do that. I probably don't have time for these slides, but with the slides, are they going to be available, the slides? Okay. So a challenge for you, you'll have to look at the PowerPoints on the website. That's challenge number one. But there's many different documents out there that have explored the use of te Ao Māori in the water space, and I highly recommend having a look at them. There's also sites like Ako Aotearoa, which have created a course, online video course called Defy, which looks at assisting professionals with interacting with mana whenua. So again, have a look at that one, as well as there's nationally available courses. If you'd like more info to Ao Mori, I've just tried to cram in 1,000 years of what I've been told in 30 minutes. But if you want to learn more, there's courses like this nationally available where you can learn more about Ao Mori. And you could also just go and have a cup of tea with mana whenua, go down to your local marae and build that connection with them. Ko tawhitike tō haringa mai, kia kore e haere tonu, he nui e rawa o mahi, kia kore e mahi tonu. We have come too far not to go much further. We have done too much not to do more. So this is the ultimate challenge to all of us today. Nō reira, tēnā koutou, tēnā tātou katoa.